Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, man. Obviously, you recognize this guy right here. He won a cup just this past week on television, so big congratulations is in order, man. I haven't got to do it here personally yet, but congratulations.
Appreciate that.
We're here at I got a house rented here at Rayburn.
Yeah.
Ott's in contention to win this thing. He's made it all the way to the championship round. Congratulations on that too.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty jacked up for tomorrow. We talked about it a little bit at dinner, and yeah, I can tell Edwin what I've done.
I can't say anything about what I've done because you know he's still in competition. But I do know that he was trying to get me to bet if I make, and I suckered in. If I make the championship round, then I'd bet him. But I didn't make the championship round. We'll go for that later. But man, I kind of want to talk about how anglers get started, and Ott is going to be the very first one, and I just think it's a really interesting story. We're going to play pool, and I was going to ask Ott how you got started. I mean, I just think everybody thinks that they just automatically become a pro angler, and they got all this money to get to there, and it doesn't work that way, because I've heard bits and pieces of your story, and I think it's really, really cool, you know, so I want the fans to hear that story.
Absolutely, and that everybody does. They see, you know, we've both been so blessed to be as successful as we are and to be where we are, but people see that and they're like, you know, man, you know, it's awesome to see where you're at, but yeah, they don't know. They don't know half the stuff, and I've heard a lot of yours now. It's awesome too. So yeah, let's get into it, and we'll go through it.
I'm gonna break here. You told me I could break, so
break.
I'm gonna break, and then we'll do it.
Just don't break a camera.
Yeah.
On the practice break, he actually sunk.
I racked them on the practice break, though. You racked those, so I don't think they were too tight.
We're always competitive, so. And I am no good at pool. If this was skipping a wacky worm in
You're no good at pool as you sink it in the side pocket.
Yeah. Do we have to call them?
Do you have to call?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. 15 over there. I didn't know.
So how old were you when you fished your first?
My first tournament period, I was 9.
9.
Yeah, and I fished that with my dad. It was an English Choice tournament. It was on Cherokee Lake.
Yeah.
And that was my dad's first tournament. That's one thing that I always think. You know, everybody thinks, oh, you went fishing with your dad. Your dad had to be loved to bass fish or knew a lot about it. That was the first tournament my dad had ever fished. So that, you know, I think that would surprise some people.
My dad didn't bass fish any.
Yeah.
Yeah, same, really similar, huh?
Yeah, so yeah, that was the first tournament I fished. Was 9 years old. We didn't catch not a fish, and that following year though we fished like 50. I mean, so that tournament I want to say was in August. My birthday's in September, so the year I was like 10, I fished, I'm gonna say 40 or 50 tournaments. You know, might have been a Tuesday night Wildcat. It might have been
all with your dad.
Mostly all with my dad. We had a couple other guys that I grew up fishing with some, but yeah, most of those was with my dad. But yeah, a couple other guys I fished with.
And did you have success there locally doing that?
Not early on. No, it definitely wasn't. Not early on. I mean, I was actually the first time I ever cashed a check in a tournament, I was 12.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had fished 3 years. I mean, with my dad, with other people that were pretty decent fishermen, certainly compared to our standards, and never even fished in the money. I was like, I don't know, 13, I think, the first time we caught a limit.
Oh, wow.
So it was not instant success of any level. But yeah, fished local stuff until I was, really a thing definitely in that local stuff, fished a bass club. And joined that when I was like 14, but I had to fish with Dad. I couldn't go in the draw until I turned 16. But yeah, starting off in that bass club was a big deal. We fished, just in that club, we fished 16 tournaments a year. So
16, that's a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Fished 1.5 a month or something.
Yeah, and we didn't fish January and February. So there were 2 months we didn't fish, and we got the rest of them in 10 months. But
you didn't leave me with much here, Ott.
I tried not to.
And I missed. I'm gonna get beat.
But yeah, I did that, and then when I turned 16, I started fishing in the BFLs. You know, that was the next move up. And the guys that I had fished with, so by that time I fished tournaments for 6 years and fished with a lot of guys that were, you know, I'm 16.
Just in that club, learning off other people.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that was fished with a lot of different people. And I always make the joke, I tell young people, anybody, I say, you want to fish with a lot of people, you're going to learn stuff from everybody. Stuff you want to do again, stuff you never want to do again. But you're going to learn something from everybody. That's kind of always the joke I make with that. And that was definitely the case.
How nervous were you that first BFL?
I was pretty nervous, but the neat thing with that was that, so a lot of the guys I fished with, I'm 16. Those guys that I was growing up fishing with, a lot of them were 25, 28 years old. You know, they were quite a bit older than I was. And those guys had gave me a lot of confidence. They're like, because I asked them, I'm like, do I need to fish as a co-angler? And they're like, dude, go as a boater. You're better than half of them out there already. Oh, awesome. So, I mean, I'm 16. I go
and you go as a boater at 16? I go as a boater.
So, I mean, you know.
What kind of boat did you have?
I had a 96 Bass Cat. 90? So this would have been in like.
With a 150, I guess?
Yeah, 150. Nice, it was Jack Wade. It was one of Jack Wade's boats. That's who it was.
That's cool.
But you remember how those words at a Walmart parking lot, they'd call out you, boat number 47, Ott DeFoe and Edwin Evers, and throw your hand up, you go walk up to the guy, and I'm draw guy's 40 years old or whatever. He's like, I'm fishing with you?
And you're 16?
Yeah, you're fishing with me. I got that a lot. That's
hilarious.
The first year in the BFLs, we're all at home. I didn't do any good in any of them. Didn't catch a check, didn't even catch a limit, nothing. So next year, I'm like, I'm gonna fish the choo-choo division. We had always had a camper down on Weiss Lake in Alabama. One of them was there. Like the second tournament, I finished third in it. I did better away from home than I did at home. And that was definitely, you know,
that's cool.
Neat. But that was kind of my first taste in, you know, traveling or fishing anything bigger on your own, because that's not, you know, team tournaments are a great way to learn, but
you were out, you did it all on your own right off the bat.
That part there was, yeah.
That's cool. Huh. I'm getting killed here.
I can make more if you get yours out of the way.
I know. I'm still not doing it. I think this table's leaning.
It's a good thing we're playing ping pong or playing pool, because we practiced at ping pong and it was not going to be very good for me.
So you got to check.
Yeah.
Third in the choo-choo division in BFL.
Yeah. And
I guess you're 17 now?
I think that was in the spring, so I was still 16.
So were you missing school for this stuff?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the tournaments are obviously on the weekend, so what, you missed the practice?
Yeah, I'd miss. A lot of times I would go the weekend before and practice, but I'd miss at least the day before and practice then.
Your dad supported you wholeheartedly.
Oh, 100% wholeheartedly. Like, no, he would always write notes to take to school to the principal to get any work I needed, and they would say, you know, what's the reason he's leaving? He would say he's pursuing his career.
That's awesome. At 17, you knew that's what you wanted to do.
Oh yeah.
And your dad didn't bass fish.
No, he saw the passion I had for it, and
my dad was the same way.
Yeah, he was just. I mean, he was like, go get it. And so at 16 though, I had been to 9, or at that point probably 7 or 8 classics in a row. I went to 9 in a row as a kid. Watched you at some of them. Went to the.
That's bad. Watch me at some.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just don't remember which. You know, which I know you didn't win.
He's like 12, and I'm fishing in a classic.
We went to the ones.
Thanks for making me feel old. I appreciate it.
Which ones were? We went 96 was the first one to 04 was the ones, and I know you were in the one.
First one I made was 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Missed the 01 one, and then 2002 on.
Yeah. Yeah, so we were at the Chicago one.
Really?
We were at that classic.
One of the 7 people there.
One of the few. One of the ones in Soldier Field out there.
Oh, it was so cold.
It was terrible. Yeah. That was a bad place for it, but we were.
Blue
that
Day.
was the first one we didn't even take our boat to. All the ones before that we took our boat to.
Really?
Yeah. And go out on the water. And we would occasionally fish some. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that, but we would.
So you take it easy on them locals tomorrow when they're out there fishing.
Yeah. There's some of them that do it maliciously, and there's people that are just ignorant. We were just ignorant.
You just wanted to fish.
We just didn't know any better. But yeah, no, that's definitely. But yeah, I went to. So yeah, I had that watched you in those classes. I remember the Wiley one you did good in, didn't you? The one Takahiro one?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember going to that. But that was where the passion of it started. I mean,
that's neat.
Watching those was kind of what got the fire burning.
So what was the next step after the BFLs?
It was to the EverStart Series. So that first year I fished all the BFLs in that choo-choo. I made the regional and went to it, didn't do any good, but that qualified and gave me like a priority entry into EverStarts. And so I started in those in 2004 and fished the Southeast Division. So those 4 tournaments that year, it was Okeechobee, Eufaula, Santee Cooper, and Guntersville was the 4 tournaments.
Right.
I was working for my father, my soon-to-be
How old are
father-in-law.
you now?
I'm 18.
18 in
yeah.
2004.
Yeah, so Jenny and I were engaged. I was working for her dad, who supported me literally, he really did, almost as much as my dad.
Did he bass fish?
He did some. They were originally from Florida. He didn't have a boat or anything in Tennessee, but he had bass fished and stuff in his life. And yeah, so I was working for him, going to marry his daughter, but with the dreams of being a fisherman. A great thing that first year.
I'm amazed you made it.
Yeah.
With that route, because I didn't get married until I was 31.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I went to Okeechobee. Dad went down there with me. We practiced for like a week. Stayed with a bunch of buddies from home and stuff. And I'd caught fish, but I wasn't on anything really to speak of. But I don't remember what I caught each day. It wasn't much. I beat 13 people. There was 200 in, and I beat 13.
You beat 13.
I finished 187th in my first semi-professional tournament. I come home from that.
Did your dad ever say anything afterwards?
Oh no, he was like, man, it's just
part of
tough go. That's part of it. But to come home, my soon-to-be father-in-law, we're doing I can remember, I can take you right to the house where we're doing a addition on, and there was a bunch of block work, and I had a overdig and had to get down there and tar that block. He's like, you sucked in that last tournament, you're going to tar this block. And I had as much tar on me as I did on the block by the time I was done with it. He said, this will be good motivation for the next tournament you go to. You know what? The next one was at Eufaula. After 2 days, I was leading.
Really?
Yeah, ended up cool. 6th in it. So, yeah, that was in 2004. That's first.
And the next one was Santee Cooper. How'd you do that?
I got a check at Santee Cooper. First time I'd ever sight fished in my life. And that was the April tournament. I went down there and got a check sight fishing. Had never done it before. I actually went once to Alabama just to do it some, because we don't do it in East Tennessee. Right. Our lakes rise so fast in spring, you just don't do it. But yeah, I got a check there, and then the one at Guntersville, I didn't do any good in, finished 100th or something. But so I didn't make the EverStart Championship that year, but that was a lot of great learning experience. And so fished EverStarts a couple more years, and then 2000, so that 4 and 5 fished just EverStart. 2006. They did the FLW Series, which I think you may have fished those. It was like
1 year I fished, yeah.
5 tournaments or something.
No, I didn't fish those.
Okay.
I fished FLW 1 year, the year they went to Ouachita and maybe Norman or something.
And we're going to go to Red River, but yeah. That was the year that one got canceled. But yeah, stepped up to that in 2006 and got a check in 2 of the 5 of those. Those were like big deals. A lot of guys fishing bass.
Right.
They were able to fish both. So that was really the first. It wasn't just. That was the first time I really got a taste fishing against the big boys. I felt like, and got a check in 2 of them and barely missed one in a third one out of 5 events. So, and that was.
So how are you paying your bills all this time?
Yeah.
Like for a young guy, how are you making ends meet? How are you paying entry fees? How are you? Are you married now?
Oh yeah. Jenny and I got married in.
Wow, I just can't imagine that pressure.
Right. 8/7/04. Yeah, I gotta make sure I got that right. Yeah, August the 7th, 2004. The year I started fishing EverStarts, we got married that August. And yeah, so we're young married, but we're living cheap. As cheap as we can. No car payments. We both had no car payments on our stuff, and I had at this point 10-year-old boat that I'm fishing out of, and just. I'm camping everywhere I'm going.
Right.
Dad had a van that he would let me borrow, and that's what I would take, and I'd camp in that. So staying for 8, 10, 12, $15 a night everywhere I went. She would cook meals I'd take with me,
So she stayed home a lot of those?
She didn't travel to hardly any. If I'd make a top 10 or something, she might drive in, her and Dad. She was working as a waitress, you know, when we were first married and stuff. And so she was a lot of times the breadwinner. When I was home working, I was working for her dad. Awesome. But yeah, that was, he would let me, you know, let me work and do whatever I needed to do when I'd leave, but yeah.
What year was it that I came through Tennessee and I stopped at the Bass Pro there where your home store is, and I'll never forget Chris Baden, isn't that his name?
Yeah, that's him, yeah.
He's like, man, this Ott DeFoe, you got to watch out for him. I'm like,
he's like, I hear that everywhere I go.
And that's what he said. Oh, he's really something. I mean, he's going to be out there with you next year, you know? And I was like, I mean, he was like, for 30 minutes, I heard about you.
Yeah.
I never even mentioned.
Chris has always been a big fan of mine. He still is our store manager there, a great guy. I'd bet that was probably 2007 or 8. That's probably when I'd started with FLW. Yeah, I hadn't quite got to there yet. But.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me. He was super proud of you.
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. But yeah, Jenny was working. I'd work when I was home, but it was living cheap. I mean, that was what we at that point in time. I could have not fished as much, and we could have bought a 2,000 square foot house and had a mortgage. But we had bought a single wide that my dad gave us a loan on, that we were on a lot that we were renting. Yeah. I mean, that's where the first 10 months we were married, we rented a house for $500 or $600 a month, but that was more than what we wanted to bite off. So
I just think that's awesome. Just how you're scraping together to make it, and your wife sacrificed just as much as you did. Absolutely. You're married through that whole thing.
Absolutely. That's Dad gave us a loan on a single wide that we paid $10,000 for, and I want to say our lot rent was $150 a month. Yeah. Plus our utilities. So I mean, we were all in on payments for home, electricity, everything for under $400 a month. Yeah.
Waiting tables, she'd make that.
She'd make that, yeah. And my working for her dad doing construction, some weeks I'd make $300, some weeks I might make $450 or $500. Yeah. And then there'd be a couple weeks of the month I wasn't there, right. You know. So, it was
interesting.
Yeah,
that is cool.
That's the part. Those are the parts that people don't see. They're like they see where you're at now. They don't see. Yeah, there was months that you could not have $1,000 a month worth of bills going out because you weren't going to make it.
So what were some of the milestones in your career?
Definitely.
That you remember more?
Yeah. I mean, just honestly, one particular one was that, so the very first of those FLW series, that's 2006, first big entry fees I'd paid, and they were like $2,500, $2,200 or something then. The first tournament I went to was on Lake Lanier, and I missed a check. Everybody fished 3 days. I missed a check because on the third day I had 4 fish and not 5. At one more keeper, I would have gotten a $10,000 check, which
$10,000 check
on a $2,200 entry fee. So I mean, I was all in for $3,000. I would have made $7,000, which was
months of income.
Months.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 6 months, easy. Yeah. You know, and then I've got 4 more tournaments. If I'd have got a check in that first one.
Why are you saying that's a milestone?
But because it lit a fire in me to realize just how important catching 5 was in every tournament, every day of every tournament.
You've done a pretty good job at that. Ever since then.
That tournament, I mean, I'm telling you, that tournament was a big part of that. It really was.
Interesting.
I mean, all the way to the first day, I mean, jump forward a bunch, we'll come back, but the first on the Elite Series, my first Elite Series tournament, the first thing I wanted to do was put a keeper in a live well as fast as I possibly could, and I did that. But yeah, that was definitely a milestone. Was that one, because it showed the importance to me of catching catching 5 every day. But I got getting 2 checks that year. Probably I'm trying to think of something else in particular early on, because I didn't have like my very first FLW Tour tournament, I made a top 10. I was on Lake Travis down in Texas, so that was definitely a big deal. I think in my 4 years at FLW, I think I only ever made one other top 10. And that one was on Kentucky Lake in 2009. But made the Forest Wood Cup every year. But never had any big finishes in that. It was just all that time with FLW was pretty steady. Other than 2007 was fair. That was my first year on the tour. 2008 started off really rocky, like to the point where we're at Lewis Smith Lake for, I think it was the second tour tournament. I fished one FLW series. So I'd already spent a pretty good bit of money, you know, and we've got Abby at this time. She's a year and a half old or something. Yeah, this is about a year, not even a year old. But we're there, and I mean, we've spent $8,000 or $10,000 of, and tournaments, at that point, fishing would pay for fishing. Work paid all the bills. That's kind of, you know, and Jenny wasn't working anymore once we had Abby. It was just what I was working. But that tournament at Smith, we had no checks come in from tournaments that year, no sponsors at all. And after the first day, I didn't catch squat and come in, and I've talked about this a lot at a lot of different places at churches I speak at and stuff. And she said, is this what you think you're supposed to be doing? Is this what God wants you to do? I said, yeah, I think so. She said, well, you better get your butt out there tomorrow and catch some fish. And I went, the next day I had like the biggest bag of the tournament and got a check. Wow. So finished 40th in that one, got a check. Hey, the next tournament was an EverStart on Santee Cooper, and I won $25,000. The next one was another tour on Norman, and I got like a $12,000 check. So it went from almost broke to like 45 grand in 3 weeks. Wow. That was like, I mean, I won one of them, but 2 other good, you know, sandwiched in there. That was as much as I'd wanted.
Took your wife giving you a little kick in the rear.
We've all needed that at some point, haven't we? Yeah. Wow. But yeah, that's probably the single biggest milestone sandwiched around the win too.
So when did the first paying sponsor come?
Of any size was 2009 for sure. I'd had a couple little, you know, 200 a month, 300 a month, a couple little things here that came and went. But 2009, I got on a deal with FLW, one of their team deals with Land O'Lakes, and that covered all of my FLW tour entry fees.
Is that just like the biggest relief ever?
Huge weight. Yeah, I mean, they covered 30, I didn't actually put any money in the bank from it, but it covered $35,000 worth of entry fees.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
money you don't have to come up with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, so, you know, if I go out and make $50,000 in checks, I actually made $50,000.
Not
you know,
15,
right?
Minus expenses,
right? And that came at the right time, all part of God's time. Because in fall of 2008, I was, for the last couple of years, I'd worked for her dad for a few years, and then I went to work for a trucking company, and I was part-time irregular, so I had benefits, but I could come and go as I wanted. The boss was super nice. I'd make $15 an hour. I'd work on the dock driving a forklift. Had a local delivery route in a 24-foot straight truck, box truck. That was my last real job, I always tell people. But when everything crashed in 2008, anybody that wasn't full-time got laid off.
Oh, wow.
So I went from
having a job
and that was, we had, Abby was a couple years old at that, she was about a year and a half old at that time. But yeah, I went from the work paid the bills, fishing covered fishing. That was, fishing didn't make enough money at that point to cover the home bills too. And kind of wondering what was going to happen. But like 2 months later, that happened in November. 2 months later, got the call. I got a team deal and would actually have some, you know.
Another answered prayer.
Oh, 100%. Time. Yeah.
Big time.
100% it was.
It's so cool. Huh?
Yeah. That was, I mean, God's timing in all that is so perfect. Because I'd had a good tournament at the EverStart Championship in November on Table Rock. Won like $20,000 to end the year with. Like, man, you know, life is good. Job's paying the bills. Fishing's doing good. And then, you ain't working here no more. But, yeah.
So when was your first year fishing bass?
So I had that team deal in 2009 with FLW, and it was great all year. I had a good year, but it went away. At the end of 2009, like at the Forestwood Cup, it was with Land O'Lakes, the cheese and butter company. At the Forestwood Cup, they're like, hey, we're just letting you know ahead of time we're not renewing. You know, just they were taking a different direction. And so, dang, okay. So Jenny and I'd always wanted to fish bass because of the classic that we'd went to and stuff. And I told Jenny, I said, this is the best thing we've ever had, and it just went away just like that. So it felt like we couldn't control our own destiny. So in 2010, I was like, let's try to fish some opens and try to get try to get to bass. And 2010 was the first year I fished any opens, fished the Southern Opens, and the FLW Tour that year. That was all I fished was those would have like 8 or 9 tournaments or something. And they took 7 out of the Opens to the elites that year, and I tied for 6th.
Good deal.
Yeah. And that was also the first year I was in a nitro was 2010. That was through Chris Vane.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, a little bit about Chris, man. I broke down like my wheel passes me going down the road.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
And it was my fault. I was on the phone. It was raining. The Norman event just happened. I think
You just won the one you just.
And
won.
I had a flat tire, and I'm putting my spare on. My phone rings. Well, I never tightened all the lug nuts. I just hand tighten them. So like it's raining, and I hand tighten the lug nuts, and then my phone rings, and I just jump in the truck and I start driving home from Charlotte to Oklahoma. It makes it all the way to Tennessee with them hand tightened. Well, I get to Tennessee, and that sucker, I just, boom, it passes me. I can't find it. I'm up in the woods trying to find it. So the next day, Chris, he got me all fixed up.
That's pretty good.
It happened right there at that deal, though. But
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, that's scary, but funny at the same time.
Am I gonna make one tonight? Did you see how that thing it did?
It was looking pretty good. Yeah. It was looking pretty
Felt
good.
like my fishing today.
Yeah. Just maybe not your day, but yeah, that was that was what got me to bass at that point was this I'd enjoyed what we did with FLW, but we just felt like we were supposed to be, I don't know, I want to say somewhere we felt like we controlled our own destiny a little bit. I mean that's
right.
And it had always wanted to fish a classic was what got me to.
So when was the point that you knew that you made it?
I still don't know that I have.
Oh.
I mean, winning the classic was. Yeah. It really was. I mean, a lot of people would look at it and say that it, that you were probably may have way before then, but the classic is a title that
it'll never be taken, right?
Right. And just the fact of it happening when it did, and of course being at home. I mean, that's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, we're not very serious on playing pool, but I'm gonna get serious real quick. I'm about got them all lined up.
And mine's in no shape at all.
I'm getting closer.
Yep.
Got 3 of them in the pocket.
I don't know what I'm even trying to do over here, to be quite honest. I'm just going.
You're kind of.
I knew that was going to happen.
All right,
I said to get that one out of the way for me.
You're about out now, aren't you?
Yep. But yeah, that was kind of 2011, and 2000. I mean, made the classic every year in 2016 to win my first elite. Wow, you're just gonna clean it up here, ain't you?
Mm-hmm. Man, how nervous were you making that decision? The decision of
very.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was horrible. I mean, for me, that was like the hardest decision I'd ever made in my life. You really got me in a tizzy.
I tried to pigeonhole you a little bit. You did. No, it was because I mean I loved what I had, what we had done, and it was. I mean, changing jobs for anybody. It's
completely giving up everything, taking a chance for something else.
Absolutely. It definitely was a nerve-wracking deal, but at the same time, I mean, Jenny and I talked about it, we prayed about it, and we felt that it was a move we needed to make. So, and I'd fished the selects and had fished the cups. I mean, it wasn't like all of it was new. It was definitely something we'd seen, and we felt like it was worth the risk.
Yeah. Pretty happy.
And then to fish against you all year and get my butt kicked like I did against you, that was...
That was just the first year. I haven't done anything since then. So what's the deal here? Like, it's going to be your shot if I hit your ball into mine. what's the rules here on
I have no idea.
You really
I didn't
don't?
know the rules on ping pong until you told me. So.
Well, my wife just keeps me straight.
And I think I actually technically already lost because I hit one time and I didn't hit my ball.
Oh, that doesn't matter.
So.
All right, I'm gonna go off the rail and I'm gonna try to hit my ball first.
Okay.
Okay, somebody watching will know, and I missed.
Oh!
Well, I got them both in there.
You did? You just scratched, but you got it. That's pretty good.
No,
It definitely counts. But yeah, and then, watching you haven't had so much success that first year, just competitor makes it burn even more, And then last year, Texas was pretty good to me.
Texas was real good to you.
Yeah. Oh, boy,
It's
I
gonna
said
get in the
that.
way, isn't it?
No. I don't know. I think the leaning of the table might have got
I think
you.
I'm gonna squeeze.
Oh,
Squeeze it in there.
hey,
I'm sorry.
I deserve that.
You're kicking my teeth in this week, so
I probably deserve that. Yep.
trying to bet me to jump in the water
Well,
after you catch like 60-something pounds and lay off of them.
yeah. But yeah, no, Texas was good to me, and hopefully it'll be good to me again tomorrow. But yeah, I do. I love what we're doing here. I tell people ask all the time, like, man, which one you like better? So there's no better way to have a tournament. One fish, 5 fish, every fish. Well, I love every fish, I do. But the results aren't often that different than what it would have been if it was 5 fish or every fish. They're really not. But that's I enjoy it.
That score tracker's amazing. Just
Oh yeah. Yeah. The score tracker part of it, the 30 minutes of free time in the morning, you're not you don't have to bust your guts.
I mean,
coming
just
in.
here at Rayburn being able to trailer, you
Yeah.
know, you're not beating up the boat official, you're not beating up that cameraman. I'm not
Yeah.
beating up myself or
Yeah.
my boat, you know,
Yeah.
which is really neat. And it's safety, you know,
Yeah.
it's not there's a lot less accidents,
Yeah.
if ever any. We
Yeah.
shouldn't ever have one, really, to be
Right.
honest with you. So,
Yeah. But I appreciate you letting me share my story. Kind
dude,
of
that's an awesome story.
Thank you.
I just can't thank you enough for taking the time. And
Yeah.
super cool story.
Yeah.
Super cool story. Just
It's, people, I think people are interested in how, because so many people ask us, like, man, how do I get sponsors? How do I get started? It wasn't that way for me. I didn't worry about sponsors for a long time.
You caught fish.
I caught fish.
You did better, and the sponsors ended up coming to
That's
you
right.
like Land O'Lakes in 2009.
Yeah, that was definitely the thing. I mean, times are different a little bit from what they were back then.
Right.
Social media wasn't a thing, and all that. YouTube wasn't a thing, all that kind of stuff. But times were different. But it's still, if you catch them.
What I take away from your story, obviously, you worked hard and you sacrificed and you did a lot.
We was in there a lot.
Your wife, what you put her
Yeah.
through for those 5, 6, 7 years is amazing.
Yeah, no, she's the star of the show there because there wasn't a lot of you. It was. I mean, Jenny, I was 18. Jenny was 19. I always remind people of that. She's 6 months older than I am. But I mean, that was all. That was all we. I mean, that's the first
She
year.
was fully committed.
Fully committed.
Yeah.
I mean, and she never, even that time in
You
Alabama.
weren't going out to the movies. You weren't going out to eat very often.
No.
Yeah,
No,
that's
she,
pretty cool.
and she sacrificed right there with me. I mean,
that's pretty cool.
Having a house or eating out, and that she was like, "Hey, this is your dream. I'll work waiting tables late nights." And that's something I didn't mention a little bit in there. Definitely need to say when I didn't work for her dad anymore and started working for the trucking company, I was working split shift. So I would work. We couldn't talk about this playing pool. We weren't focused enough. I was working split shift, so I'd go in at like 4 a.m. and I would unload freight off of trucks and get the run set up. I mean, I'm saying me, the group up, that shift. Right. We would do that, and I would work till like 10 a.m. and I'd sweep up, leave, and I'd come back at like 4 p.m. and work till 10 p.m. again.
You're not seeing her at all.
At all, because I'd see her a little bit middle of the day. But then she'd go in at 2 or 3 o'clock to work the evening shift. We weren't. I mean, that was the first 2 years of our marriage. It was like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So no, that was a lot of time spent.
How sweet was it building that house after all that?
Yeah.
I mean, getting to build your own house.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah. I can't thank her enough for believing in me, and she hadn't quit yet, so.
So everybody, Ott's got 4 beautiful kids.
3.
3.
Yeah.
3. The twins and Abby.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, 3 of them.
And Parker loves to bass fish.
He does enjoy it almost as much as he likes to turkey hunt.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do when I get home.
And that's what's really cool about Ott, because, you know, early when I knew you, I didn't think you hunted much at all. And now you've got into it.
Yeah. My kids have got me into it. Abby and Parker have gotten me into it.
And another really cool thing about Ott and Jenny, they've got what's your YouTube series called? That just you and Jenny on Sunday mornings. It's really cool.
Yeah, JOJ. It's Jesus, Ott, and Jenny.
Jesus, Ott, and Jenny.
Yeah,
I knew it was, I didn't want to say that. I wasn't for sure if that's what it stood for.
Yeah, that's it.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's every Sunday. I'm actually evening, but every Sunday evening we have a new one of those. So yeah, be sure to check that out.
You guys check that out. It's really cool. Really cool.
Yeah.
Man, thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely.
I wish you all luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
You guys be watching this. He'll probably be the champion of the next. I don't know. We don't believe in jinx, but we wish you all the best tomorrow.
Thank you.
All the best. Thanks for taking the time to do it.
See what we can do.
It's cool.
Okay.